tonight in the disappearance of 7-year-old Kyron Horman. People magazine examines the intense focus police have put on Kyron's stepmom, Terri Horman. But remember, the stepmom has not been named a suspect or even a person of interest. It's been more than 3 weeks and still no sign of little Kyron. His biological mother told Good Morning America it's like he just vanished into the ground.
Honestly, it's a parent's worst nightmare. We've racked our brains trying to think of reasons why.
Kyron's stepmother, Terri Horman, says she was the last person to see Kyron at his school. For that reason, cops have spent a whole lot of time verifying her story. People magazine now reports cops have searched Terri Horman's house, taken her truck twice, and interrogated her for 6 hours at a time and several times. But Frenzen says she's a doting mom who is heartbroken that Kyron is missing. So is this stepmom getting a bad rap? I'm taking your calls on this. 1-877-JDM says straight out to my fantastic expert panel. And we start with investigative reporter Michelle Sagona. What is the very latest, Michelle?
I spoke with Lieutenant Lindstad about 2 hours ago, Jane, and she says this week investigators are back on the ground going over the 350 forms that were sent in. They're re-interviewing parents. They're re-interviewing the staff from the Skyline Elementary School. They're making sure that they haven't missed anything. As far as going back out on leads today and doing actual searching today, she says that is not happen. I asked specifically about the island as well that they spent a lot of time on, but so far teams were not out there today. They're mainly working on all of those leads, the thousands that have come in addition to the paperwork that was sent back to the school. As you mentioned, family members did speak out to People magazine, and they did talk a little bit about Terri Horman Moulton and her past, and a little bit about what they think about the investigation and the fact that investigators have gone into her home a couple of times and that their house has been open, that they have been open with police with any kind of information and anything that they can possibly do to help find this beautiful child.
Yeah, and it's important to point out she's not a suspect, she's not a person of interest, but cops do seem to be hinting it's not a stranger abduction because the sheriff's office has said the need for the public to be alarmed is very low. So that does tell you something. Terri Horman's dad told People magazine he believes there's a 50-50 chance his daughter will be arrested. Again, it doesn't necessarily mean she's done anything wrong. She hasn't been named a suspect. Now, that doesn't... I gotta tell you, People magazine reports Terri Horman has taken 2 polygraph tests. Cops have searched her house more than once. They've seized her truck twice. They've interrogated her for 6 hours at a time. Robin Sachs, you've been outspoken about the fact that Terri Horman is being persecuted. Why do you feel that she is being persecuted?
You know, it's interesting because that was my initial reaction right out of the gate when this case first happened, that, you know, just because she's a stepmom, not a biological mom, she was there with her child, we can't just draw a conclusion because she is a stepmom and not a biological mom. However, when you start looking at the evidence in the last course of the last few weeks, there's no other suspects, no one else was with her, and how amazingly tight-lipped Oregon Sheriff's Departments have been about the investigation, you start to wonder, is she being unfairly persecuted, or is there something more there?
No. Well, here's my big issue. This is an inexplicable mystery. How do you explain a little boy disappearing from his school hallway? His biological mother offered this explanation on Good Morning America. Check this out.
My sister used a phrase with somebody recently. It's like a portal opened up in the school and Kyron just vanished into it. It's a mystery, really. It's very heart-wrenching.
Now, Rod Wheeler, here's what I don't understand. She, the stepmother, does not fit the typical profile of somebody who would harm a child. I mean, she is described as a very active parent. She is always there at the school. Sure. All her friends and acquaintances say she has very good parenting skills. This is not a family where, to our knowledge anyway, there's ever been a police call to the house. The Child and Family Services has never visited. So it doesn't really make sense to me.
Well, you know, Jane, to a degree you're right. But I think you hit the nail on the head when you said to our knowledge. And to our knowledge is what the police is trying to find out right now. What knowledge do the family have that the police don't have? Put it like this. Kyron just didn't vanish into thin air. Something happened to that child. He didn't just walk away. And the reason the police have focused on the stepmother is because of the fact that she was the last one that was seen with this kid. And just by virtue of the fact that she was the last one, the cops should focus on her. But I think it's important to also understand that she's not the only one, Jane, that the cops have focused on. But the cops are doing exactly what they need to be doing right now by focusing on her as well as others. But there's a lot of unanswered questions, Jane, that this lady has to come forward and tell the cops.
Diane, Missouri, your question or thought, ma'am?
Yes, I hate to bring this up, but has anyone thought about the financial angle? If Kyron comes up missing, therefore the father does not have to pay child support anymore. And I do believe on your show you mentioned that they had a child together, his father and new wife. And
okay, I'm going to go to Michelle Segona so she can answer that question, ma'am. Go ahead.
Well, basically the situation was that Kyron's biological mother had to go off to Canada to be able to receive some treatment. So that left Kyron with his father the majority of the time. As far as the actual custody agreement, if there was something on the records for physical custody, primary, joint custody, things of that nature, that's something that we don't know as far as who was paying child support or who wasn't. But it appears that they had a very good working relationship.
Gotta leave it there. Shocker up next. Shocker.